Hi, so back in October of 2015, I said I was going to try BookTube. I was going to do it all the time. It was going to be wonderful, and I did it once, and it was nice, and I didn't do it again. But I thought I shall return many months later because I want to talk about my one of my favourite reads this summer, and indeed of 2016, and that is Eimear McBride's The Lesser Bohemians. Now, I saw proofs of this going out a couple of months ago on Twitter. I was desperate for one and I begged for one and I got one, so thank you for sending this to me. I am so happy to have this in my hands. I've been excited about Eimear McBride's second novel for a long time. Now, her first novel, A Girl is a Half-Formed Thing, came out a couple of years ago. It was originally published by Galley Beggar. Now, they're a tiny indie, and I believe that they introduced to the world one of its greatest living novelists. I loved that book. I don't think it's possible to pick a top 10 books. I don't have a favourite book, how can you possibly? But if I had to pick, that would be very high up there. And there are a few reasons for that. And one of them is the unconventional narrative structure. To describe it in quite a reductive way, this sort of stream of consciousness structure is half formed in itself, and I think that we don't really think in fully formed sentences. We think in these multitudes of half formed thoughts and feelings and emotions and signals, and for me, it's depicted in a really authentic way, not just a stylistic trope, but in a really authentic, genuine way, something of the way in which we think. And for me, that really penetrated, and I connected so strongly with that book. The emotional depth, authenticity, the way in which she depicted some really traumatic but very revealing elements of human nature, just for me made it an astounding book and a debut at that. Incredible stuff, and again, well done Galley Beggar for publishing it. Really an incredible feat of publishing, I think. Now that brings me to Lesser Bohemians. This is out from Faber books very soon. Sorry, I'm just distracted by the light changing outside. It was sunny a second ago and I can see the clouds starting to darken on me. We've also had a problem recently, or I have certainly, with aggressive seagulls, so if you hear them calling at any point, I'm sorry about that. Now, The Lesser Bohemians by Eimear McBride. Where to begin with this book? Definitely one of the best things I've read this year, and for quite a while actually. Essentially, to sum up the story without giving anything away, because that would be terribly rude, is that it's set in the 90s and follows a young woman, and saying that makes me feel a million years old, but it follows a young woman who's just at the cusp of really realising herself in terms of her career and artistically, romantically, sexually, all these important things. And she has moved from Ireland to London to go to drama school. The crux of the plot focuses on a relationship with a much older man, and it is through that I think there's a real compassion and a real empathy in Eimear McBride's writing that I think is quite rare. So we see at times people making decisions born of hurt, but not in an A to B kind of way. She goes through all the letters of emotion and often pain, but also the way in which we attach ourselves to other people, really very, very moving. Now, again, the narrative structure of this is interesting in that it really gives a sense of nostalgia. Now, not just nostalgia in that the book is set in the 90s, although it is, and there are other great books set in the 90s at the moment, such as Walking the Lights by Deborah Andrews. Disclaimer, we published that one, but check it out, really, really great, especially if you're interested in Glasgow. But this gives a sense of nostalgia, not just because of the time period, but because it feels like rummaging through a box of photographs and finding something sepia tinted and a bit bittersweet. But perhaps when you look at it, you get a sense of a moment in time that's so formative. You look perhaps at that time and think, oh, I learned lessons after that, or I was hurt after that, or I was made happy, or became more confident, or whatever it happens to be. There's something of that sense in this book, and that's such a rare thing, I think, to be able to capture. I really feel that I'm looking at someone's experiences, someone's really deeply formative experiences with the eye of empathy and looking back from the perspective of a whole. Now, it's also really an important book for me in that it depicts working class women. There are still not very many people writing or being published about working class women, certainly, or working class people generally, and that's something that's very close to my heart. Eimear McBride does it wonderfully. Again, really believe she is one of our greatest living novelists, not just for the way in which she depicts human experience, not just because of her grasp of language, her really authentic, from something deep within depiction of language, but the issues that she raises. It's interesting in that when I think about other books about working class women and people generally, The Sopranos by Alan Warner has always been one of my favourites. And to see a man depict women, working class women, in such a strong way gives me a lot of respect for him and his talents. It certainly matches a lot of my experiences growing up in the sort of situation depicted in that book. But to get back to Eimear McBride, certainly if those are issues that you're interested in, also fatherhood in here, really a very interesting depiction of fatherhood. It's certainly worth checking out. Now I'm going to see Eimear McBride on Sunday at the Edinburgh International Book Festival. I'm so excited. It's like Christmas time, and she's going to be chaired by Peggy Hughes. Peggy from Literary Dundee Festival is probably one of the best qualified and most interesting chairs for Eimear McBride, I believe, and I'm very, very much excited to hear the discussion that ensues. So yes, have to recommend this thoroughly. It's out very soon from Faber. It left me in tears. I don't often cry at fiction, but again, the way this taps into something really deep about human existence and language and the things that wake us up from everyday mundane reality is certainly in here. So, The Lesser Bohemians by Eimear McBride, out very soon from Faber. Definitely recommend that you pick up a copy if you can. Thank you.